If you see a couple that is still smiling, still together, still loving up on each other years after, it's a lot of work. Dear friend, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Iddy, and I recently did a video about marking 7 years of being married. And in order to sort of document that, I did a video highlighting the 7 things that I've had to unlearn since being married for 7 years. Believe it or not, I did not think that my marriage would even make it past the first year.
We are going to pretend we didn't hear that.
There were just so many factors and so many issues just popping up back and forth that sort of shook the marriage to its very roots and made us question every single thing that we said to each other on that big day. So in this video, I am just going to be highlighting top 5 mistakes that almost destroyed my marriage in the first year. I call them mistakes now because if we had known better, maybe we would not have been in those positions. And as you know, I love a good dish. So while we're talking about this, I'm going to be making hot Nigerian meat pie. You heard about it? It's not the meat, it's almost like the beef patty, but it's not the beef patty. This is unique in its flavor. We're going to be making that while I share those top 5 mistakes that almost destroyed my marriage in its first year. Right into it. The very first mistake that I believe we made, or I made, and this is personal, some of the mistakes would be on my end, some would have been on my spouse's end. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. The number one mistake that I made was putting money making over my marriage. It was not intentional. Money has to be made, yes, but I saw myself making big sacrifices, sacrifices that in turn came back to haunt us, right? Sacrifices in order to put something on the table. So it's not just my husband doing that. I wanted to also contribute my own little part to our financial goals, our financial purse, every single thing that had to do with money. I didn't want it to be just one-sided. I wanted to also assist. And as nice as the intention was, the steps taken to sort of accomplish that were not very favorable when it came to marriage and our marriage. I was willing to move across the world, maybe not across the world, I'm just saying that. Now, this would sort of flow into the second mistake, right? The first mistake, which is putting money over our marriage, plus the second mistake, which is being apart. Both of them sort of go hand in hand because it was one that sort of led to the other. I was willing to move about an hour and a half away from my home to work in another city. Bear in mind, this was a very fresh marriage. Marriage was not even up to 6 months yet, and I took this opportunity. I moved over there. Luckily for me, it was a place my mother was, so I was able to stay with her, go to work, and then go home only on the weekends. The problem that had was it sort of created a lot of distance in our marriage, distance in our love, distance in our connection as a couple, a young couple. So going home every weekend started becoming going home every other weekend. Sometimes 2 weekends will pass, we won't see each other. 3 weekends will pass, we won't see each other. And when we do see each other, we're quarreling. We're having misunderstandings, we're arguing, we're just not on the same page. And I guess also the frustration of, didn't you miss me? Didn't you, the distraction and everything that it caused, just being apart. So those 2 things affected my marriage. It rocked it to its roots. That's the truth. Number 3, sharing the negatives of my spouse with my friends. Your negatives, especially when shared with other people, come back to haunt you somehow. Because why? Your spouse's woes are your woes and his wins are your wins, or her wins are your wins. So when you're sharing your negatives, basically you're putting yourself and your marriage and everything in the light of the world. And so people begin to have their opinions about how your marriage should be, or what you should take, what you should not take. And that affected us, because even when it seemed like I had gotten past a lot of things that I had shared with my friends had not gotten past any of it. Unfortunately, I didn't see it as the negative things that you share with people are also your negative things that you're sharing. Those of you are now one, your problems out there are rubbing off on both of you. That's the truth, even if it is coming from you. Yeah, that was a very huge mistake, and I regretted it. I apologized, reassuring him that it would never happen again. The fourth mistake that we made in the first year of our marriage was investing 100% of our attention on the children. So at the time, it was not children, it was just one child. But because it was our first child, you want to pour out the love, all the attention, every single thing. Bear in mind, we were not living together. We were living sort of apart at the time. So I saw myself, even when I did go home, facing the child, wanting to care for the child. Back in the other city where I was living, I wasn't giving 100% because I had to go to work. So by the time I left to work in the morning, he was still asleep. When I'm coming back in the evening, he's already gone to bed. So I would just kiss him goodnight or something, but I wasn't exactly connecting and, loving up on him as I would have wanted to because of work. So my mom was doing most of that filling in for me. But by the time we went home on the weekends, because of the lack of time during the week, I would pour all this love on him. I would literally forget that my husband is at home. I won't show as much love, as much passion, as much connection with my spouse, simply because now my kid needs me. I have to be with my kid. Now, not to say that kids do not require all your attention. That's not what I'm trying to say. You can balance it by ensuring that you're giving both sides. You can share a part of you with your kids and also share a part of you with your spouse. It's not easy, but yes, practice makes perfect. Now, the last mistake that was not going to God when I was in my time of worries. So, of course, it's a first year of marriage. So many issues pop up, personal issues, marital issues, issues with family, issues with your spouse, just so many things that arise, especially in the first few years. It's almost like the forces of life are just against you and your husband. Yeah. If you're not careful, you would almost forget God. And that's the truth. I struggled to even pray. It was that serious because there were so many things happening at that time. I was coming to terms with this new normal, and that affected even my spiritual life, my religious life. I was also new to full-blown Christianity. I was a Muslim before I got married, and that's a topic for another day. If you guys want me to go into the whole marrying from, Muslim to going to Christianity because of marriage, let me know in the comment section. I'll do another video just addressing that area of my life. That was a time for me to actually draw the closest to God, asking God for direction. But no, I was turning to friends, I was turning to family, I was turning to all the places that I really should not have been going to look for guidance from. I was able to finally find him in the midst of all my problems, and it sort of helped me to get back on track. Yeah, those are my top 5 mistakes that would have scattered my marriage if not for God. If not for God, and if not for the most supportive mom, the most loving family that I have. Meat pie is done. I am going to eat some meat pie and some Coke. I mean, what is meat pie without Coke? Anyway, so if you have not liked and subscribed and you're watching me right now, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, become a part of the family, And I promise I will see you in my next video. Don't forget, drop a comment. Okay? I'd love to hear from you.